Hello my friends and welcome. This is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go straight to Novoprokopovka because there is the advancement of Ukrainian army that was registered today. As usual, let's check out the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. I may say that our guys are already fighting in Novoprokopovka village. Even though Russia deployed lots of the units in Novoprokopovka, they're still unable to stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive in this region. The decisive milestone for Ukraine was to take those defense lines under control, and then we're gonna move ahead. There are a couple of more defense lines ahead of Novoprokopovka, but I'm sure that those are less severe compared to what our guys liberated recently. Why are we even speaking about this small village compared to the front lines? It's nothing, but actually it's the biggest village and the most secure one on the way to Tokmak. So if Ukraine liberates Novoprokopovka, it opens the way to Tokmak and automatically Ukraine penetrates the main Russian defense lines behind Novoprokopovka, because Russia will not have the routes where to place their defense. So Novoprokopovka is over here and Tokmak is not really that far away, and between there are just tiny little villages and open fields. The Ukrainian army might use the time till the winter because October is quite warm on the south part of Ukraine together with half of November. The last year Ukraine gained quite a lot of territories during October and November. Russia understands it, so they send more reinforcements. It doesn't help, and they also reinforce the area near to Tokmak because they foresee the next move of Ukrainian army. Unfortunately, in the 21st century, you cannot hide the big armies on a warfield, so they understand the next move of Ukrainians. According to the Deep State military map resource, Ukraine actively uses the FPV drones near to Verbova village. They continue to publish the geolocation of the battles that are ongoing on the front lines. That is how we have the military map update. They analyze the videos, they also have their own resources, as I do as well. And according to my resources, Russia started to use FPV drones more actively compared to the previous couple of months. Definitely China helps Russia to obtain the parts to make the FPV drones that are capable to carry the explosive devices to target the Ukrainian vehicles. So now they're quite compatible with the Ukrainian drone army. Unfortunately, but even with the drones, the main force nowadays on the front lines is infantry, and the Ukrainian army is more motivated compared to the Russian one. That's why we're able to gain more territories, especially Western weaponry helps us a lot, like artillery systems. So in this area we have the movement towards Novoprokopovka and towards Verbova. By the way, about the Novoprokopovka village, Ukraine was able to take the ground during the nighttime operations. I have already published this part of the assault mission on my Telegram channel. I am unable to upload it on this platform, so my friends, please go to the video description just below where you may find the link to my Telegram channel. I use it as one of the main resources to update my audience about the current events. I use the Telegram because I think that it is quite a robust tool if we speak about the censorship. So according to the latest report, 1152nd Regiment of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation lost the capability for defense in Novoprokopovka. That is why there is the high probability that the village of Novoprokopovka will soon come under the Ukrainian control. We also have the report that Russia tries to lower the statistics for the KIA soldiers. They are not taking the bodies from the front lines, and their logistics for the evacuation of the wounded soldiers is quite terrible. They take care about officers mainly, but the average Russian soldier has the high chances to bleed to death just on the front lines without obtaining any kind of the medical help because of the lag in transport. I wouldn't say that it's not happening to Ukrainian army, but we try to evacuate our soldiers anyways. Based on the videos that I see from the front lines, the lives of our soldiers are more important for Ukraine compared to the armored vehicles, even those unique vehicles that we obtain from the Western allies. It is not the only advancement that Ukrainian army has today. Let's go to the other part of the front lines. On the south from the Bakhmut city, there Ukraine has the advancement across the railways. It means that soon Ukrainian army may go to this village, Odradivka, or to the north to Opetne village, but there are some of the defense lines that Russia was able to build just recently, plus lots of the forest lines that they turn into the trenches. But in general, we may say that after liberating Klishchiivka and Andriivka, Ukrainian army broke through the Russian defense on the southern flanks in the Bakhmut area. But still, Ukraine is unable to perform this huge jump to cross the main Russian supply line, this road, so the advancement from the north also should be. Without it, the encirclement of Bakhmut is not possible. In Donetsk Oblast, Russia tried to get the Nevelsky village under control. They advanced but were stopped by Ukrainian army. Later on, I'll show you the images of the Russian destroyed vehicles, as usual, by the way. So it was the gray area, but now it's been confirmed that this territory is still under Ukrainian control. Our guys were able to push Russians back to their previous positions. And those are the images of the Russian kaboomed vehicles in that area. They tried to cross the fields, but unsuccessfully. Again, HIMARS is in action against the Russian Pion, very powerful artillery system, the caliber of which is 203 mm. So it is before and this is after. The Russian army commanders said that they lowered the precision of the HIMARS missiles by disturbing the GPS signal, but HIMARS missile also has the gyros, which work independently, yes, with less precision, but as we may see, still very precise. Plus, Russia is unable to block the GPS signal forever. They also need it for their UAVs. The same stuff happened to the Russian T-62, quite an old tank. It was targeted probably by Excalibur artillery shell, which is quite precise, as well as HIMARS. Yes, this is the image before the artillery strike. As you can see, Russia integrates their old T-62 tanks into their defense lines. You may see the defense of the tank from both of the sides. It didn't help, but anyways, they understand that they are unable to use the T-62 tanks in a modern conflict against the modern weaponry that we have from our Western allies. This tank would not live for a long time, but sometimes they are forced to use those old tanks and even older T-55 tanks, trying to stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive, not in that way but as the normal tanks, and in that case those tanks do not live more than one day. Ukraine showed the modified S200 Missile that was produced in the Soviet Union. This is the standard ground-to-air missiles, but Ukrainian engineers transformed it to the ground-to-ground missile, which has quite a long range. So now we have this video, which is fully available on my Telegram as usual. What is here? This is the Russian helmet Kolpak 20. Quite interesting. What is inside? From what I can see, it's just the standard helmet of the Soviet Union since the Second World War. And how do they modify it, or how did they do it? Well, they put some foam inside and basically that's it. No Kevlar protection, no extra armor. You may just see the thin metal and the foam, nothing more. It's not the Kevlar, it's just for the comfort, if we may speak about the comfort of this Second World War helmet. But still, Russia has lots of the weaponry that they continue to use in Ukraine. Just for you to understand the scale of how many shells Russia used already, well, this is the ammunition warehouse. It's very close to Ukraine, and this picture was taken in 2021, and this is the recent picture. You may see that mostly this warehouse is quite empty. Those are not the shells, those are just the traces which are left on the ground. As you may see, Russia still has some sort of the weaponry over there because they use this base as their hub to transfer the weaponry to their units in Ukrainian territory. Some good news from Poland: they repaired first batch of the Leopard 2 tanks, which received the damages on the front lines. Now they will send those tanks back to Ukraine for the active fighting. It is awesome that finally Poland was able to solve the issue with their repair facilities for Ukrainian armors. I got this video from the pro-Russian channels, but they shared the video that was filmed by our guys not far away from Robotyne, close to Novoprokopovka, and here you can see the Challenger 2 tank which was targeted by Russians around 1 month ago, and our guys are at the same particular place but driving that light armored vehicle, or maybe the vehicle with no armor. The Russian public showed this video saying that okay, we did it, we hit the Challenger, one more confirmation, but actually it's quite positive because, as I say to you, our guys are more or less free to move there on a light armored vehicle. It means that this place is safe right now. It means that the Ukrainian army moves forward. Our guys found lots of those things on the captured T-90 tanks. I think we call them boobs or something like that. So those are antennas that are used to provide the distortion signal for the FPV drones. So that the soldier flies the FPV drone, it may lose the reference, the visual reference and the control of the FPV drone. I wonder if it is effective or not, but since today there are lots of the T-90 tanks, even with this modification, which were kaboomed by Ukrainian FPV drones. Officially, this thing calls electronic warfare vulnerabilities, wave cutter or something like that. We have an interesting article from Politico. I know that it's not the top resource, but sometimes they publish quite a truthful information, and I believe that it is true. So they somehow got the access to the confidential document of the United States. Again, it's not the secret document, it's the confidential one, which says that the United States of America sees corruption as the real threat for Ukraine. I would add more. Sometimes corruption in Ukraine has even more threat to Ukraine itself compared to the Russian army. We understand that Ukraine gets the military units, tanks, armored vehicles, whatever. They are all on the front lines. Everything is okay with that. But also Ukraine obtains the funds to maintain the economy and also for the military budget. And there are tons of the corruption scandals with those funds, especially including the previous defense minister of Ukraine, Reznikov. I'm sure that Zelensky fired Reznikov just before his visit to the United States of America to show that he's fighting against corruption, but still Reznikov is not prosecuted. There is even no investigation from what I understand. So the United States officials understand that Reznikov was a corrupt guy. Plus, again, just before Zelensky's visit to the United States, the Kolomoisky, one of the biggest Ukrainian oligarch who is actually connected to Zelensky, was prosecuted and now he is arrested temporarily for 2 months in prison. America demands Kolomoisky to be sent to the United States for prosecution because he was involved in the schemes with the United States funds. Well, actually, I'm really happy that it's happening like that. I lost the trust in the Ukrainian government to fight with corruption, so now the United States will do the job for the Ukrainian government and probably will format Ukrainian government in the nearby future. Because of that, I'm sure that there will be elections in Ukraine in 2024, at least parliament elections. As a Ukrainian, I understand the scale of the corruption in my country. Yes, you may say that there is corruption in any kind of the country, but in Ukraine it's something really special. Well, it's not very unique. You may find a similar stuff in some of the countries, even in European Union, for example in Bulgaria, from what I was able to see. But in Ukraine, I know it from the first hand. Corruption is everywhere. From the very bottom, hospitals, schools, police, to the very high-rank politicians. But this attitude goes from the top. That is why the United States of America see the future in Ukraine by reforming the government, reforming the army, because after all, there was no reform of the Ukrainian army. Yes, we have the modern day weaponry. Yes, some of our soldiers passed the training in the best training facilities in UK, in Germany, whatever. But as I told you many times, even in Ukrainian army, we have this long Soviet tale of the Soviet mindset from some of the Ukrainian military commanders. It is hard to develop, it is hard to implement something new over there, especially NATO standards. The issues with the Ukrainian government, with the Ukrainian oligarch economy are listed in that leaked document. So United States will do everything to reform Ukraine, and it will be very soon. Otherwise, Ukraine will not obtain any more help from the United States of America. So here we have do or die. For sure, there will be no die. Ukraine will reform, obviously with the help from the United States, will reform everything as needed. United States of America already deployed many of the inspectors and mediators in Ukraine who will correct the situation in our country, because Ukrainian officials are useless to fight against corruption, mainly because they are corrupt themselves. I think that the White House administration and President Biden personally needs this win before elections to show Americans that funds are going properly and Ukraine is achieving their goals on the front lines. Now, as we may see, many of the senators are not sure where the funds to Ukraine are going. That is why Ukraine was not included in the temporary budget that was taken just for the 47 days. About the President Zelensky, I have my own opinion about our leader, but I will not say it to you right now. I will wait till the war is over, and later on I'll tell you everything about this guy from my own perspective as the citizen of Ukraine. Today, the Speaker of the State Department, Matthew Miller, said that the United States will support Ukraine, continue to support, but the vast part of the financial help for the Ukrainian security is mostly exhausted. He also added that now they pause the long-term programs for the security help for Ukraine because there is no long-term budget. It basically wasn't taken. My friends, those are the temporary issues. United States will continue to support Ukrainian army as it was before, but they want to see the reforms in Ukraine. Less corruption, much less than before, and they will do everything for it. So I wouldn't say that those are the dramatic news for us. Those could be even positive news. Sometimes Russian propaganda says that Ukraine is under external control, mainly by the United States of America. Honestly saying, I would like this external control over Ukraine for some period of time, because as I said to you before, our government is so corrupt. That is why it's the dead end for Ukraine to develop in economic way or even in military way. So finally, go no go. Ukraine should get rid of corruption right here, right now. Right after the United States announced the fight against the corruption in Ukraine, the Ukrainian special services arrested the mayor of Sumy city. This city is bordering Russia. The guy was arrested with big sum of money, the bribe. Well, it could be just the TV show. I hope this guy will be prosecuted. And sometimes Ukrainian courts even return the funds because they are also corrupt. My friends, it is not the Russian propaganda on my channel. I say it as it is. Actually, because of this stuff, our guys are dying on the front lines. So this should be stopped. I'm really happy that I'm able to talk about it, not being afraid of prosecution by some of the corrupt Ukrainian officials, because I'm not in Ukraine. My idea is to share the truthful information as it is to the public, to raise the awareness of what is happening, and for sure it will help Ukraine to win. It's already helping. You may see that United States of America little by little are getting concerned about the corruption in my country. Okay, I found some more information about the new Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico. It seems like we have another Viktor Orban in one of the European countries, which was previously a good ally of Ukraine. Now I don't think so. First of all, he promised to stop any kind of the military help towards Ukraine. Secondly, he called Ukrainian fascists who are really triggered this war. Well, what can I say? I don't like this guy, but here is the live example that dirty politician games manipulation may help you to get the power in the country. That is why we see many of the populists, the conspiracy theories and the politician movements based on that shit. Sorry my friends, I'm quite pissed off about all of this political stuff. Maybe I should speak less about it on my channel. So let's go to the British Defense Intelligence report. They say that Russia started to use the B-12 marine airplanes from 1950s. Those airplanes are based in Crimea for a very long time. Russia constantly used them. I know it because I used to live not far away from that particular military airfield where those B-12 airplanes are based, so they were flying lots and lots of the flights per day, constantly training. Yes, they are made in 1950s, but they put the new equipment that helps to identify submarines, so probably they may try to identify the Ukrainian submarine drones, which Ukraine tests right now. Russia basically has no alternatives to those very old sea airplanes. Well, I could be wrong, they have B-200, but mostly it is used for the emergency situation ministry in the Russian Federation. They have just a few of them in their army, but B-12 still flies and may perform the missions over the sea. So the main idea of this report that Russia restores the older airplane to fly over the Black Sea to control that area using marine aviation instead of the ships, which are mostly were relocated to Feodosia and Novorossiysk ports. Winter is coming, but Kiev is adapting its tactics. Indeed, we're gonna receive many more weaponry during the winter time, and we're gonna use it during the spring campaign. Russia unfortunately will also adapt its defense lines for the future campaign, but Ukraine this time will have F-16's fighter jets, plus the long-range missiles like ATACMS. I think that all of the Russian dreams that Ukraine will stop receiving the military help from allies will not come true. And I don't see any kind of the perspective for the Russian offensive operations nowadays in Ukraine. That is why Russia wants to frighten everyone with nukes. They want to make the real explosion of the nuclear warhead somewhere on the northern part of Russian Federation. That's how they will test their weaponry. We have this analysis from the New York Times based on the satellite images of the preparation. They also reported that many airplanes of Rosatom were flying in that area. Rosatom is the Russian nuclear corporation. They do the civilian stuff, the nuclear power plants, and they are also involved in the nuclear tests to investigate the test results. All of the data points out that there should be the nuclear explosion firstly conducted for a very long time on the territory of the Russian Federation. Well, actually, there are some international regulations which forbid Russia in doing those nuclear exercises. Only the North Korea does it on their territory, so Russia wants to be like the North Korea testing the nukes. They will test their cruise missile Burevestnik with unlimited range, as the Russian Defense Ministry says. By the way, all of the tests without the nuclear warhead of this particular cruise missile failed. So now they want to range the real bomb, and they're sure that everything will happen alright. Elon Musk again with his attitude towards Ukraine, not to President Zelensky. He's saying about the military help, so he's joking. Then it's been 5 minutes and you haven't asked for $1 billion in aid. Elon, actually the lives of Ukrainian people are very dependent on the help that we receive from our allies. Yes, as I told you in this video, Ukraine has the corruption, but mainly the military help goes according to the plan, especially military units. The previous defense minister was involved in corruption with food for the soldiers and uniform for the soldiers. No one is speaking about the military units. Those are physically delivered to Ukraine and now fighting on the front lines. Now, as we see, the United States of America is helping Ukraine to deal with corruption, which is obviously good. But cutting all of the military help, do you want Ukraine to become Russia? Do you want Ukrainians to fight on the Russian side in the future, to take Poland under the Russian control, Lithuania, Estonia? You want the United States to lose the influence in Europe? Do you want the United States economy to crash because it's very dependent on the world influence? Dollar is the #1 currency. If the United States loses the power, if world will lose the trust in the United States economy, there will be collapse in your country as well. We already see the big national division in the United States of America that worries me a lot. And with those posts, with your trolling or exaggerating some of the conspiracy theories, you just make it worse. But you know, Elon, finally, I'm sure about Ukrainians. We're not gonna let Russia to occupy our country. It doesn't matter on what president we have or government, the corruption level. We are on the bright side. We want to change to be a developed democratic state. So I don't see the perspective for Ukraine to lose this war against Russia. We ask for the military support to reduce our losses. First of all, human losses. Hopefully Elon will finally understand that. My friends, now press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my channel, there are some of the links available in the video description just below. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and the sponsors of my YouTube channel. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.